American half pound of 2 pure beef patties, lettuce, tomato.
Singles going steady.
This is Singles Going Steady, the podcast dedicated to exploring great singles with a particular eye to the punk, new wave, and DIY eras of the last century. I'm Adrienne Meddock.
And I'm Steve, licensed to kill McGowan. We're in a band, the Beef People, who released a single in 1986 on our own label, Zub Records. And we are record collectors and passionate, especially about the expression of pop music perfection. That is the single recording. Exploring the mystery of what makes for a great single is what propelled us to begin this podcast. Episode number 80.
Oh.
And strangely enough, a single from 1980.
Yes. This really simplifies our conversations,
Yes.
right? Which is this 80? Well, no, it's 83.
It was 80. 80 for 80.
80 and 80. So that's very convenient. And it is
The Selector.
The Selector. And who were the Selector?
They were a two-tone British ska band from Coventry, just like the Specials. We have covered the Specials first single, Gangsters, on our podcast.
And on the flip side was?
The Selector, doing their instrumental, The Selector.
Right, and that was really a one-man operation at that point that it was recorded, but the Selector grew into a full two-tone enterprise,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you had,
Right.
in true two-tone style, where you had blacks and whites together,
Right.
but unusually for
Very
ska,
unusually.
you know, we had a woman singer.
Yes.
Vocalist, I should say.
Pauline Black.
Pauline Black. Or at least-
African, well, I was going to say American, but she's English.
Right. And so you had two vocalists, a man and a woman, fronting the Selector.
Right.
And, that was quite unusual.
A multiracial band.
It was pretty much a boys' club.
Yeah.
And it was a club in the sense that it was member owned, member run, right?
Right.
So you had the Specials and the Selector founding this label and becoming the home for so many ska groups.
Right. Their first LP is called Too Much Pressure. It has a very iconic cover with the black and white two-tone border. And the songs are very interesting. And they kind of followed the Specials template. They did some old ska songs from Jamaica. A Prince Buster song. I don't know if that's on the record, but they used to play Prince Buster. They did a Scatterlight song and their own stuff, which is very anti-racism, very anti-sexism.
Right, and so the single we have for today that we'll play a little bit of, that's the one we're going steady with, is in fact
3-Minute Hero.
3-Minute Hero. And what the heck is a 3-minute hero?
I think she wants to be a 3-minute hero on your radio.
On your radio,
Right.
yeah. I mean, they're sort of unabashed, and talks about
changing things via music,
right,
basically.
right,
Yeah.
and
which is really a nice thought.
it is. So should we hear a little bit?
I think we should. Let's get some real, honest to goodness ska, first wave, second wave in Britain, actually. It's not from Jamaica, it's from Britain. 1980 on Two-Tone Records, The Selector and 3-Minute Hero.
It's 5 p.m. and you're on your way.
Yeah, so being a 3-minute hero as they're going through the drudgery of going
It's kind of like
to
being,
work and back, commuting, and dreaming of being on the radio.
kind of like being on Top of the Pops.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've got another, sort of unabashed, aspirational. This is what our direction that we're going in.
This is how I want to change my life. I want to be a 3-minute hero.
And it really did seem that at that time that you had some accessibility.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about independence in the UK, and here you've got Two-Tone coming up and making great success for sort of a DIY,
very DIY
collective, right, of bands that were like-minded. That each made their own sound, right? I mean, they did not sound alike, but they had the common ethos and the commonalities in their influences.
Right. I mean, everybody got started on Two-Tone, the Madness, the Beat, Specials, Selector, Body Snatchers, I think Bad Manners. They all got going, at least got a single out of it, and then many went on to other things.
Right.
Madness went to Stiff, and some of the other bands went to other labels.
But I think the Selector probably has not had the sort of reach across to the U.S. in the way that we see. Madness famously had a top 40 hit.
Yeah.
And, the Specials have made an impression as well. But I don't think the Selector had quite, the toehold in the U.S. that even the other ska bands did.
It seems specially British.
Yeah.
Pauline, this is a great little song, and you were talking about kind of how her voice is a little kind of new wavy sounding.
Right. Yeah, we noticed that particularly on the radio.
Yeah, right.
The song, not that when you listen to her on the radio. And I think that they wear their Jamaican ties. That they're upfront about those. With the Selector being, Jamaican term for the person who selects the songs that are going to be
the DJ.
Played. Of course, DJ today means something different.
Right,
but disc jockey, the person who's selecting the records that are going to be played on the radio.
Right, on the sound system if it was in Jamaica. Right. So we saw that movie Babylon that explained a lot of this mystery to us.
Right, so refer you to... the review. We'll have in the links review to the movie Babylon,
which was a sounding movie, and it filled in a lot of gaps about Jamaican sound system culture and what eventually would become rap music. Ska and rap.
Right, the forebear of that.
Toasting.
And I think one of the big things that we get out of it's certainly seminal to be part of forming this Two-Tone label.
Right.
But also sort of the centrality of the notion of pressure, right? And of course you've got the pressure drop, the song that everybody probably covered and took as a reference point.
Famously covered by the Clash.
Right, coming out of Jamaica and but their own original Too Much Pressure.
Right.
And I guess the first album was
what's called Too Much Pressure.
Yeah. And we recently talked about North Carolina's own answer to the Two-Tone movement.
Obviously where they got their name from.
The Pressure Boys, taking it from the
Selector.
Exactly. And they covered Too Much Pressure was one of their great covers
really
that they played.
Fantastic. They killed that one.
So I think the Selector would be a band that would be a band's band in a lot of ways, and still playing, and I think Pauline Black
and Gaps Henderson, the two singers, are still in the band.
And she had a career as an actress, actor in the UK. So a celebrity continuing on, some notoriety from the Selector, moving on,
and still a very an activist, still fighting for rights. God knows racism hasn't gone away and sexism hasn't gone away. So she's still fighting the good fight.
Yeah, and I think they toured the U.S. This year. We were not able to catch them, but hopefully
I know they were in Mexico.
Hopefully, our paths will cross and we'll get to get to pay our respects to this
Amazing
important band and fighting the good fight,
Yep.
and musically as well as sort of politically, socially.
So the next thing I want to talk about before we talk more about Selecter is ska music has kind of a myth about a certain person. And there's a new movie coming. There's a new movie coming out.
It is.
And what I'm talking about is James Bond.
James Bond.
And
the killer?
The Killer, yes. License to Kill. And that is the flip side of this single, 3-Minute Hero. It's called James Bond. It's basically a James Bond theme with some toasting. And
what is toasting?
Toasting is the Jamaican version of rapping.
Right. It's sort of the
talking,
almost
singing.
the hyping,
Yeah. Yeah, hype man is a very good, way to put it. Remember the specials famously had Sock It To 'Em JB with all the names of all the movies,
Right.
You only live twice.
You only live twice.
Casino Royale. Right. So there's kind of a myth among these ska bands with James Bond, and I think it was started by the Selecter. Maybe it goes to Jamaica.
But that idea, that 60s poshness, the UK poshness is very British, very, that...
He drives an Aston Martin.
Right. It was very, talk about an aspirational figure.
Right, MI5.
Right, and a man of mystery and... all the things that are sort of poked fun at in Austin Powers were, flipping them over and making them, a figure of aspiration, of heroism.
So let's listen to the song. It's called James Bond. I think you'll find it quite familiar. And this is a Selecter from 1980. Here we go.
Ha ha! James Bond, the killer.
So that's pretty much a straight, it's James Bond theme. And with some fun.
And I know that there's a big pop culture affection. It's sort of the same way that we see people being obsessed with the Marvel universe.
Right.
I know, like when my dad was in college, being obsessed with the James Bond novels.
Didn't he read all the books?
Yes.
Yeah, all the Ian Fleming novels.
Right, and this totemization, right? You know,
Right.
that you're putting this up as something to aspire to
Right.
know about.
It really is kind of like a superhero.
Exactly.
Because James Bond never dies. You know, the angry sea bass don't get him in the end. You know?
Right, exactly. So it's good to see, that taking on a new life in the world of two-tone ska.
Who knew? Who knew? So the Selector, a very influential band. Really had two records. Really, there was this one, and there was "Celebrate the Bullet" before they broke up. And then later they reformed, and they're still playing now.
Yeah, and there's some drama because, as often you get with legacy bands where you've got members that splinter off and have
form their own versions.
We talked about it with the beat, how you've got the English beat playing in the United States with Dave Wakeling, but that was a friendly, that they divided territory, so you had original members playing under similar names doing the same thing.
And the specials have had that problem too.
Right, but with less cooperation.
Right.
And, there was in fact a trademark battle who would get to play under the name The Selector. And Pauline Black became essentially the owner,
winner.
the trademark holder of The Selector.
Right. So,
I always like to slip a little trademark law in where I can.
There. Yes, that's good. The record, Too Much Pressure, if you're into ska at all, this is definitely one you need to get if you don't have it already. Can you hear anybody covering this?
Oh, well, I guess I was telling the story how I used to hear the Pressure Boys cover it all the time.
Right.
But who would bring it now? Boy, it's hard to, I'm trying to think who could take Too Much Pressure and take it out of ska.
Well,
right?
who would do 3 Minute Hero?
Ah, there we go, 3 Minute Hero.
Yeah. I would think it would have to be somebody big like Billie Eilish or maybe Tay-Tay.
I was thinking Tay-Tay, right?
So Hive Mind for us, huh?
Right.
Yeah. So she's definitely everybody's 3 Minute Hero right now. So
right. Oh, you know what? Who would really be Lizzo?
Yes.
And get a little flute solo in there.
Oh my God!
Right.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Let's have 3 Minute Hero Lizzo.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that.
Do you have any recommendations besides let Lizzo do all the songs?
Yeah, really. I'm going to recommend a book that I haven't read because Pauline Black has written a memoir, and it's called Black by Design. And I've been wanting to read it. I don't have it yet, but I'm going to. I have a pretty good feeling it would be a good read.
I think so too.
It's the story of her whole life, and she's had a very interesting life and done a lot of really cool things and just been kind of an inspiration for a lot of different people.
So there's a self-recommendation.
Right. And then I will read it and I'll get back to you. Look for the review on the website.
So my self-recommendation is going to be for coffee naps. And, a coffee nap is the notion that since caffeine takes a little time to act, if you are tired, rather than simply having a cup of coffee, have the coffee and take a nap. And by the time the caffeine hits, because there's that thing about you should take a 20-minute nap, that's optimal. That helps you keep your napping to a true nap and not, slipping
It's kind of like
into
a body alarm clock, huh?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's like the thing they always tell us the Native Americans would drink water before the evening before they had to get up for a battle. I mean, it's some of that,
Sure.
American mythology. But that notion that you kind of have that part there too. If you drink the coffee, you might have to get up for reasons other than the caffeine. But a coffee nap. So I recommend that.
Good. So this has been Singles Going Steady 080, single from 1980. The Real Ska, the Two-Tone Ska, The Selector, Pauline Black and Gab Sanderson. 3 Minute Hero with James Bond. All kinds of cool stuff. We've always loved ska. We've always loved all the two-tone bands, and this is one of the better ones. So check them out if you're not familiar with The Selector. And we will really look forward to talking with you again soon.
And they are more than 3-minute heroes.
They are.
You know, the real heroes of the good fight.
Yes.
For against racism and sexism
And whatever you got ism, they're going to fight
right,
it.
Right.
All right. We'll see y'all later.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye. To learn more about the artists and recordings we just talked about, visit our website at zubrecords.com and click on the Singles Going Steady icon.
You'll also find links to the persons, places, and things we recommend, and much more.
You can find episodes of Singles Going Steady on our website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Singles Going Steady is brought to you by the power and majesty of Zub Records. Zub Records. Smart sounds for sharp people.